Yo, everybody, it's me, Pops Van Zant from the Madness Comic Network, and I want you to have a heads up and look out for our sign-up page for the Roku campaign on Kickstarter. We're going to be trying to get the funding to get the Roku channel set up for people like that guy, the guy who's recording this, can get his show up there on Roku and start getting monetization today. So check us out, sign up, be ready. Peace.
Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
Alright, boys and girls, this is Ron from Romo Art, also from Sector 7. Alright, take 2. Nope.
Greetings.
There she
There we
is.
are.
Hey, how are you, bud?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
Oh, Whistler said it in the Blade series, like hammered shit.
That's it's quite the description.
Like hammered. Blade 2. Blade 2. I should have done a contest. Who could name what Blade movie that's from? Like hammered shit. Oh, man. It's been, it has been a day.
Yeah.
What? Hey, give me 1 second. Hold on.
Of course.
All right.
Hello,
Sorry about
everyone.
that.
No problem.
Hey, buddy. How you doing, Christian? Thanks for
Hi,
joining.
Black Hat and Lady Valor as well. Got
Sarah,
some
all
folks
right.
up in the chat tonight, so that's awesome.
Nice.
So I feel naked. I don't have the Sector 7 on Fund My Comic thing tonight. I should put that in there. I feel wrong for not having that. So I'm sorry that you're not doing the best today. I'm kind of there.
We'll get through this show. I mean, it's been weird. Like the internet went off yesterday.
Yes, it did.
What is it? Today is the 28th. It did for you too.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, we're like 3 blocks from each other.
3 blocks away. Yeah.
Yeah. So the power went out on this side of town. I don't know if that was the case with you guys. We lost all power last night.
Oh, we didn't lose power. We just lost net. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, like probably a good couple hours last night. We had no electricity. So 7-Eleven too, which is right behind my house. So, but yeah, no, yeah, we'll get through this. I've kind of been prepping myself to complain about The Dark Knight Rises. Is kind of
good
wrapping up our series.
You might have to carry this one because I am a hot mess today. We got the full moon, another major full moon in like 3 days, I think, and I'm just all crazy today. So,
all right,
let's just get to it. So and this is your worst one. Like this is your worst. No, so this is gonna be part 2.
Yeah.
Let's try to regroup. I mean, let me try to regroup. Let's introduce this properly.
Sure,
right?
So
this is part 2. You go ahead. Fuck it. You go ahead.
Sorry. I'm just trying to help you out and segue in. So for those of us who haven't been here, last week we were talking about the Nolan Batman trilogy and kind of why it isn't quite as good as everyone remembers. I think we have I think everyone was pretty obsessed with it at the time. I think since some of the nostalgia glasses have come off a bit, but we were kind of dissecting them and we talked about various issues. There's some plot holes and just, we talked about Scarecrow at length and just how they kind of did him dirty, like throughout the whole trilogy, but mainly in that first film, he was kind of just superfluous and kind of like, I don't get me wrong, I love the mask, but he never really became Scarecrow to me, and just how superior the Arkham games were, and as far as their interpretation of them. So that kind of catches us up a little bit as far as that goes, right? But tonight, touching on Dark Knight Rises, we didn't get to that one yet. And is this your worst one out of the 3, or?
Oh man, Jesus, I don't. It's okay. I'll say this: 2, the second and third one are, for me, not as good as the first one. So it's like it's the Batman Begins is the best production of a Batman movie for the Nolan trilogy, and then 2 and 3. One isn't worse than the other. I dislike them for different reasons. So it kind of evens out.
That's interesting.
I really like the story for the third one. I enjoy. I like the story of the classes, the different classes, and the rich taking. You know what I mean? Capitalism capitalism, in my opinion, is just kind of slow drip communism in a way. Like, I don't know if that's going to get us canceled, but to be honest, I think capitalism, it just takes longer for everyone to go broke, so we don't notice it as much.
I think that's it, and I kind of agree with you. I think that fundamentally, I think that humans are sinners by nature. That there's no perfect
system in a way,
right? There's no because there's no perfect people. There can be no perfect system because everyone inevitably power is going to filter somewhere, and it just I think capitalism provides. Personally, I think it provides the most opportunity for the longest period of time before that occurs, but it does occur where
it does
has
occur.
To be reset.
I think it just takes longer, and it's. I mean, look around. You know what I mean? Like
from my worldview, that's about the best we can hope for. So I agree with you. There's some themes of I enjoy obviously
those themes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just gonna start right off the bat with, for me, story-wise, it's an epic failure for a couple of reasons. First off,
wait. So let's be clear. So, are you talking about the story as a whole, or are you talking about the number of plot holes in the story?
I'm gonna start with a plot hole, and one of the first we kind of touched on a little bit, I think, is it kind of retroactively creates a plot hole because at the end of The Dark Knight, Batman's on the run. And we have this idea that the next film is going to involve Batman kind of being like essentially being more of a vigilante than a fugitive really from the police,
hunted by the cops,
hunted by the police. And I actually was really excited for that concept.
Which would have been awesome.
Right,
would have been really cool.
I was so pumped at the end of The Dark Knight, which is by all means, my favorite of the trilogy, The Dark Knight. To me, I agree with you that Gotham looked better in the first one, but I'm still going to say that The Dark Knight was a better film, tighter story overall, just better developed, flowed better to me. But right off the bat, you have two people at the end of The Dark Knight. You have, I believe it's Officer Ramirez. I might be
it is
misremembering that, but she's
She
alive
lives.
and is fully aware of who Two-Face is, and also or essentially what Harvey Dent has done. Okay, Harvey Dent has committed these atrocities, and not only does he know, but you also have this other gentleman that knew who Batman was, and he kind of gets blackmailed by Lucius Fox into keeping his mouth shut. But after Batman now has disappeared for 7-8 years?
It's 8 years,
yeah, 8 years. I have a hard time buying that this guy didn't tell somebody, and I have a hard time believing that Ramirez didn't squeal on Harvey Dent, because really, what incentive would she have not to go tell everyone what he just did as a psychopath, right? So right off the bat, I think it creates a massive, massive disconnect from The Dark Knight. I kind of didn't want to see that story. I did not want to see old crippled Batman. Like, I don't think that was necessary. I don't think it was. I was completely baffled by the decision to fast forward in time and give us a essentially decrepit, hermit Bruce Wayne. Like, I just don't get that choice at all. Do you have anything to add there?
I can't really add to what you said, but I can give my opinion on there's a couple things. So
hi, Paul.
We had talked about the 8-year gap and how people would have said something by then, the number of people that actually knew. Two things. One of them has nothing to do with this movie, but it has to do with the Man of Steel. And every time you talk about this point, I get flashes of the Man of Steel. And how many people would know by the middle fight in Smallville, by the action scene in Smallville, Zod throws like a truck through Martha's house. Superman is flying around doing his thing and then lands back home. Like, cameras aren't following him. just walks in the front door. Hi, Mom. Sorry about the truck.
Right.
And then a police officer drops off Lois Lane at the Kent house. And it's like, holy shit, like, cover blown, dude. Everyone knows where you live now. Like, I don't know how many people caught that, but that was really poor writing. Like,
absolutely. I just want to hop in real quick. I know you can't see it. I did say hi to Paul, but for those in the chat who don't know, Paul's our good buddy at AGE Comics, and he produces the comic book Fall of Man, which is another kaiju comic, and a good friend of Sector 7's. We love you, Paul. We're happy you're here.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, like you. The problem with the Dark Knight Rises.
Ginge is in here too. Ginge, what's up, buddy?
Oh yeah, hi, Ginge. I'm sorry I missed you there.
Yeah,
and that
I have to have my wife tell me who's in, unless like you guys type something and it pops up on my screen. I actually can't see the comment list. So
yeah, and I will occasionally miss somebody. So if I do that, please don't take offense. I don't mean to, but I do try to look over and keep track of that. So. We're just chatting about The Dark Knight Rises, and I brought up a couple of plot holes to start with, but it doesn't really get better from there for me. Like, you have Batman's blown out knee, that by the end of the film is magically better because cartilage for some reason regrows itself.
Yeah.
And I almost like, I really question some things. Like, was the contraption he puts on his knee more believable than Batman gets a knee replacement? Like,
oh, I know,
especially billionaire knee replacement, right?
Like, contraption on his knee. You could look at that as being a plot device that should have been brought up later, because he kicked a brick wall and broke the bricks, right?
Yeah.
The extra strength that kind of exosuit technology I thought was going to come in during the Bane fight or something.
Right.
It did fuck all. It did nothing. He got his ass kicked, which he yes, thank you. My wife, my producer, everybody, she's the best.
She is awesome.
That's great. I lost my train of thought. No, that's fantastic.
By the way, I got to shout out Brittany since we're here, because I threw a birthday party for my son over the weekend. And for those that don't know, I am a single parent and I wear a lot of hats and I'm very scattered brained. But Ron's wife, Brittany, really went out of her way to make it a special day for my son. And I'm not going to get choked up right now, but it really meant a lot, and I appreciate her very much for doing that. So I had to definitely bring that up while we were on the subject of your wife.
My girl, it's my girl.
Yeah.
So what the fuck was I talking? Does anyone know what I was talking about? Oh my god!
Sorry, you're talking about the knee contraption.
So there's styles of writing, like how to write books by classic writers. Like, if you show a gun over the fireplace, that gun needs to be used later on in the movie. Like, right? Yeah. Like him, he easily should. I'm not saying he should have been a match for Bane, because that would have ruined the dynamic, but he should have been able to put up a better fight. The first fight with Bane was one-sided. He was done from almost the first. He was nailing him, and Bane was taking every shot, doing nothing.
Right.
And so, again, the thing that allowed him to walk and kick brick walls, they just forgot about it.
Right. It really was. It was a complete waste of a plot point. Sort of what I had an issue with Scarecrow, I have with Catwoman. I don't really feel like they allowed her to be the character. Like, they did it with the Joker. They allowed him to be the character. Bane is more or less the best version of Bane I think you're going to get in that universe, as goofy as he sounds to me a lot of the time.
I love Tom Hardy's Bane. I
don't know. Like, love it.
Fantastic.
Love it. That is fantastic. I don't know that I love his voice all the time, but it is unique. It is memorable. So I will give it, but it sounds, it sounds well, for kind of the same reason I think Batman sounds ridiculous in that movie compared to the first two. The first one especially, but
you're getting into my now you're getting into my gripes. Holy shit.
Right. And his voice at that point was almost like laughable, right? And I feel like Baines, is sort of in that same like I'm talking very mumbled and blah blah blah. And it was just like it was almost kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this. It didn't have the cool factor that Vader has, like Darth Vader, like for, you know what I mean? Where he wears a mask, he speaks very clearly and in a very intimidating way, even though it makes no sense for him to suddenly sound like James Earl Jones when he's really just a whiny, skinny white dude, but still it was cool, right? And I'm not sure that Bane reaches that level, but I don't feel like they allow Catwoman to really be that character. She's just kind of a thief in a leather outfit. And I love Anne Hathaway. I think she's a great actress, but I don't think they really, or her or Robin really, I don't think they allowed them to be the characters that they're supposed to be.
Brittany wants to say something about Catwoman.
Hold on, I'm going to turn mine down. Go ahead.
Okay, if I may. So the problem with her is not just so there's like this one shot in like the beginning where she's stealing the pearls or whatever, and Bruce Wayne comes in and talks to her, and she like spins around and does like this half curtsy thing and delivers her line, and then she takes off. And I was like, that felt so forced and unnatural. And so the other thing I wanted to say about her was, so like Zoe Kravitz, the new Catwoman, and Michelle Pfeiffer, the other one, they did such a great job like embodying a cat, and I didn't get that from Anne Hathaway hardly at all. And the other thing is like, okay, so I'm a lifelong DC villainess super fan. So Catwoman is our queen if you're the same. And Michelle Pfeiffer, Zoe Kravitz are literally getting put in places where they almost die. They're like shot at. I think Kravitz got like choked out. Michelle Pfeiffer almost dies a couple times. But Anne Hathaway is like doing kind of criminal risky behavior, but not really squirming like she's about to die in hardly any of it. So thumbs down.
Yeah, I agree. They don't have great chemistry on screen. They really, there's nothing about, and like I said, traditionally, I like Anne Hathaway in many of the things I've seen her in. I'm a big fan. If any of you are out there that are kaiju fans, if you want to see a really weird kaiju movie, look up the movie Colossal. It is bizarre. It is really bizarre and unique in the genre. There's nothing else like it, even though I sometimes question how much of it is actually a kaiju film, but it does have that element to it, and it's a very different, weird take on it, which I find interesting. But in this movie, I just don't think she was that good. And I think they refer to her as like a cat burglar on like a newspaper or something like that. And that's about the extent of, and she's got little cat ears, kinda. And that's really about it. Just kind of move. Yeah. She's got the little antenna, I think they're supposed to be. And it just didn't work. And I think more than the other films, and this is kind of the big issue that I have, is there are massive, now granted, each film had its own like gaps in logic, like you had to kind of forgive a little bit. The one in Dark Knight for me is the school bus pulling out of the bank in the line of other school buses, and none of them are at all alarmed by this. Like they're just like, oh yeah, you just pulled out of a bank, like not out of the bank parking lot, out of the bank. So that would strike me as bizarre. And, it's obviously very heavy traffic and no one else is just like, it was that bus over there, officer. Like that kind of thing. But I think there are more moments like that in The Dark Knight Rises than any other film. We brought up the knee. There's, of course, the back issue where he's able to climb out of the pit with a, I magically recovered from a bad knee and a broken back and am able to now do things.
Yeah, you know what? I never thought, oh my God, they get fucking worse. This is the point being proven in real time, because I never thought about the fact that he didn't have his mechanical knee things when he was in the prison.
Nope.
And he's jumping from stone to stone.
Right. Magically, he's
like, oh my God. Like, holy shit. It gets worse. Every time you see it, it gets worse.
And it even when you think about like the fact that one, Wall Street does not like the way they stole his money, like it's not I'll buy it. That
was just like so for me, that was just like another bus pulling out of the bank. The first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. There's some stuff going on. Neat. And then you watch it again, you're like, well, wait a second. And then you watch it. And again, I have movies on in the background while I draw. So I probably see these movies more than most. And you're like, after a while, it's the third movie that becomes near unwatchable for me.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
honestly. And especially when he talks, I don't know if Nolan, again, you would have to do it on purpose, dude. In the second movie, his voice made the papers. They were wondering why they made him sound like that. Batman, I'm talking about.
Right.
So the third one, you make it worse. And then
by the third one, he sounds like he's gargling cotton balls.
It's horrible. Cotton balls full of marmalade. Like, I don't know what the hell. It's horrible.
I really was really bizarre. I just felt that was super bizarre. Like
but wouldn't you think that certain, like I said, I feel maybe, and I have no fucking clue, but I feel maybe like he really didn't want to be tied down with contracts with these big movies. He didn't want to do them. Nolan seems like a one and done. He does one big movie that he really puts his heart into, and then he's on to the next one. He doesn't do trilogies. He doesn't do superheroes. The Batman Begins was, I think, the interest to see, could I do it? I think really drove him. And then he did it. I think he wanted to be done. Like, the studio's like, no, buddy, you made too much money and you're tied down now.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think the production aside, as far as scenery and things like that goes, I still think The Dark Knight was the better of the two. But I agree. He put a lot of heart into Batman Begins.
But it was the better of the two because of the Joker. The only thing that made the third one halfway good was Tom Hardy. Like, the bad guys carried these movies except for the first one.
Yeah, although that Bane right there.
I'll tell you, you know what? Horrible movie, but that Bane is comic book accurate.
He looks cool.
He looks cool.
Granted, we could do a better job on him today than the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, we could make him look better, but he is comic book accurate. A couple of other things. I mean, a lot of people have talked about, lighting the bat on fire on the sides of buildings, which probably would have saved him enough time to not have cut the dropping of the nuke off down to the wire like he did.
Yeah.
People have talked about the officers coming out of the underground clean shaven. Those are details that bother me, but I'm willing to overlook. But I liked what you were saying about the fights, because none of the choreography in this movie looked interesting at all, and the shots were not good.
It sucked.
Like, if you actually look at the camera work during them, like that first fight against Bane is one of the most boring, like, worthless interactions I've seen. Like, and then you also see Anne Hathaway there as Catwoman, and she's not even like, I think it's supposed to be really emotional and that, but Chuck Dixon is on the network, who created Bane. We love Bane.
Yes,
we love Bane. I may not love The Dark Knight Rises, but I am a huge fan of Bane. So Chuck, if you're watching, don't be offended. We absolutely love your creation. I don't think Chuck's here, but
Chuck
if he
probably
was
not watching, but just in case.
But just in case, we would love it if he did. But anyway, no. I like going back to Anne during that scene is supposed to look, I think, really have a visceral reaction to Batman being destroyed, and it does come off as forced. And there's just so much wrong with that scene. So
I think how about the plot hole, and maybe this could be explained, possibly, but to me, when Commissioner Gordon, they drop him down the sewer thing, and he comes out, to the outside, and then, quote unquote, Robin is right there to like get him. How did he? There, even if you drop people from a specific point into this, down a sewer drain, I can't imagine in a giant city there's still not multiple channels that they could end up going down. And the only way that they could actually cover that would be to say that they had found a few bodies at that same spot. Yeah, I will kind of buy it, but it's when you time things a certain way, like Commissioner Gordon just comes out the bottom, and then Robin's like, "Come here, buddy, I got you." Like Dad and the son's coming down the water slide. Like it makes everything too easy, and you might not see it the first time, but then it's like, wait, that timing was fucking perfect. That never happened.
Yeah. I don't. Robin in general, like that was another character where I'm just like, why? I would rather you not put him in than do that terrible of a job with him. It was a garbage character. It wasn't a cool twist. Like, you find out, whatever, my name's Robin at the end or whatnot. It's like, no, that's just lame. Stop it. Yeah, thank you. That's how I feel. Like, I was just like that. There was so much about that was just bad. So I could really go on. Like, what's bothering me is as I'm talking, there are always there's another thing popping up that just really rubbed me the wrong way.
Like I said, I didn't even think of the fact that he didn't have his knee braces like in the prison. Like, okay,
yeah, that was the biggest error to me, because I'm like, oh, he's just leaping 15 feet without any support that he never
even occurred to me. It's so fucking up. But it's funny because of how my brain works. The fact that he didn't use it in a fight, that occurred to me. You know what I mean?
Right. The other thing that stuck out to me was we talked about like the stock market and all of his money being stolen and things like that. But like half an hour later, they shut off his electric, and I'm like, pretty sure that's not how that would work.
There's no 30-day notice or anything for a trillionaire. They just get shut off. Fuck.
What's that? All your money's gone? Like,
we're broken.
Surely
shit.
You don't have any
months before it's shut off. It's ridiculous.
The Bane orphans helped him. It's true. He jumped using the power of love and determination. He was magically healed by the end. Really, what it was the Spider-Man 2 plot where he lost his powers but got them back at the end for no reason except this was like, oh, Batman doesn't have any powers, so we'll just take out his knee and give it back.
He had to believe in himself.
Yes, I had to believe in my knee.
Yeah,
my knee had to just have some self-esteem, and gosh darn it, it was able to do it.
Okay, so now for me, mine is more production-wise because I liked Bane, even though the weird thing is when I was in the theater, half of what he said I couldn't make out because of the amount of bass that they added and stuff. It actually wasn't until I got like the Blu-ray at home that I was able to know everything he actually said. So which is
part of the reason why I think it sucked. Like I don't know what he's saying.
I get it. I totally understand. I really like Tom Hardy's character. I just love the character. But I get why someone would be annoyed by that. Why not? And you'd have to, like, it's like when I'm watching a movie with Britt, like, because my favorite time of day is basically at the end of any day when me and Britt are in bed and we're watching a movie. That's my best time. And we're watching like something on Netflix or something. And everyone talking is like a fucking whisper. If the fan's on, I can't hear what they're saying. But the gunshots is like a war zone in my bedroom. Like,
I think that's to do with modern speakers on television.
The volume disparity is absolutely retarded. And you're like, okay, great. I can hear the car revving like it's right in next to me, but I can't hear what they're saying.
Right.
So it's like audio quality, except for, unfortunately, my audio quality, because I don't have a microphone, should never be an issue. I hope so, because I was actually going to buy a mic this weekend, and I'm actually glad I didn't because we ran out of money. So
I'm gonna bring you a headset. I'm gonna bring you a headset and see how that works out for you.
See how that works out. Yeah.
You will have it before Friday. I promise.
Cool.
So
like audio quality should not be. I'm sorry if you're making a movie, whether it be a small studio or a large studio, audio quality should be the last of your fucking concerns. That's horrible, especially when it comes to dialogue of main characters and, you know, gargling cotton balls, and it's just stupid. So, but my main thing, again, it's the production showed me that Nolan didn't give a shit. And it's a weird thing.
Showed me that too.
I know. But I'm a visual. So that's interesting.
Right. We are different in this regard.
I'm also a writer, but Matt is the writer. And I'm more artist than writer. So I'm looking at the visuals and Matt's looking at the plots. You take all you need to do, because anyone can do this, is take the Wayne Enterprises boardroom. And in the first movie, because the first movie color palette is completely different. The color palette in the first movie is like browns and yellows and ochres. And so you're looking at, first of all, the original Wayne building was an original design of a building. It was beautiful with a monorail and everything. The boardroom was all this rich wood, and it looked like $1 billion boardroom. Like, it was beautiful. Second movie, no monorail. The Wayne Enterprises is now a black building in Rochester with just a W on it. No one cares. The boardroom went from this rich mahogany wood, and it went from that to like a washed out silver with a really long table and some windows. Now, third movie, same black shitty building. I don't get this at all. The boardroom is like this giant, because of the way they use the camera. The camera had a lot of like bird's eye view looking down into the entire room. So it really showed you the space of the room. They had like a fucking folding table like you would have at some graduation party with some chairs around it. And I swear to you, I haven't paused it, but I've seen it enough times. In the far corner, I think they have a small TV and a TV stand. Like, that was just like for the crew. And they said, fuck it, I don't care if it's in the shot or not. It was the most lazy piece of shit boardroom I've ever seen in my life.
I really got to go back. I've been meaning to.
Now that I said it, you're going to go back and fucking look at it. It's pathetic. I'm not kidding. I have the same folding tables in my dad's fucking cellar. Like, it's this giant white room with some plastic chairs, a folding table, and a weird like TV in the corner. It made no sense. Even Lucius's office, his office in the third one, it's almost emptied. There's nothing there for production at all. There's nothing that's filling the space. And you could say because Wayne's running out of money, Wayne Foundation's running out of money. Lucius didn't sell his bookshelves to keep the company going. That's ridiculous.
No. Right.
Like the production sucked. And then obviously they didn't even care to, Christopher Walken's conference room was better than that one.
Yes.
Which Christopher Walken?
And Batman Returns.
Oh, and Batman Returns. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Max Schreck was his character.
Yes. Excellent.
And yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get one thing straight. Like, comparing atmosphere for almost any director with Tim Burton is kind of unfair. Like, if one thing, at least classic Burton, I'm not as much of a fan as, like, I did not like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm not a fan of the Alice in Wonderland crap. Like, I think that's old Burton. Like, I'm talking about old school Burton.
Old school
like,
Burton, yeah.
Was a master of atmosphere. And
yeah.
I think that comparing just about anything to those two. Now, and I've recently gone back and rewatched those first two Batman films, which I really love. And but like in hindsight, you can pick out some things that you're like, oh, wow, this isn't like, you know, you could kind of take the nostalgia glasses off a little bit and kind of identify some things that maybe aren't the best. I don't think Nicholson's like the best Joker in the world. I think he was just Jack Nicholson with some face paint on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
he is a crazy dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he just kind of played himself, and
I don't think Nicholson was the best Joker. I think Heath Ledger was the best Joker. But unfortunately, until Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson was the best Joker. I mean, Jack Nicholson did play the Joker. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He didn't just dial it in. He did classic Nicholson, which can be kind of crazy, but that's why you give him the part to begin with.
I think that's tough. I think it's tough to see anyone but Nicholson, as it's weird. He's just got that personality. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So and that may be more me than anyone else, but I really enjoyed those classic films. But they were, in terms of production and the scenery, I mean,
it hasn't gotten better since, to be honest.
Defoe would have been the perfect Joker. You know, Ron thinks so as well. Yeah, Black Hat Cinephile just said Defoe would have been the perfect Joker. Ron does agree with you. I love him. I think he was the perfect Green Goblin, even though I have some issues with the suit and some of that. But he really would have done a great Joker, but now I have a hard time separating him from Norman Osborn. Like, I see him now, and it's like, no, he was just too good as Norman, and I love him there. So it's funny how
I agree.
I think over time,
I agree with that Willem Dafoe, man. Oh my, that guy's fucking terrifying. He's terrifying to look at. Just he'd be terrifying behind me at Walmart. He's oh my God, and it's not even that like he's intimidating. He's scary. He's literally a scary person to look at. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, I find myself, there are certain people you just like, I don't know, are fascinated by, like, and he's one of them for me. Nicolas Cage would be another one. Something about his persona, his mannerisms are just really fascinating to me. And, and Willem Dafoe is definitely one of those guys for sure. Yeah. Just really entertaining. I wouldn't mind seeing him play. They should bring Costner back for his own film and have Willem Dafoe. Well, of course that wouldn't work with 89 Batman because Joker's dead. But I was going to say with an elderly Batman and elderly Joker, that'd be really interesting.
They would do some Pop some alternate
says,
timeline
he
thing.
Loved Jack, but still think Danny Trejo would be the Joker. I don't know. I can't get there with Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo. I couldn't see it. I could not see him. Maybe.
I don't know. Like, one, I couldn't see it at the time with Ledger, although I was more open than most folks were. I wasn't trashing it. I was wondering if Ledger could pull it off, and of course
I was trashing it, and I was completely wrong. I was trashing Pattinson. I was completely wrong.
I trashed Pat. I kind of went into Pattinson knowing that I had gotten the Ledger situation wrong. But I was also cautious because at first I was excited for Leto, and that ended up being the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, by far the worst Joker in my opinion.
It doesn't. That entire movie, it's almost like Green Lantern. It doesn't even count. Like, yeah, it's listed as DC movies.
It's true.
It doesn't count in some weird, like, subconscious way. You just automatically like, oh, I remember that, and then you just move on. Like, it's weird. Yeah,
that movie was bad in a painful kind of way. There's bad movies that I love because those of you that know me know I'm a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan. So there's a good kind of bad, and then there's just oh my goodness, this is hard to watch.
Yeah.
And that Suicide Squad movie was hard to watch. Pop says, first he said, secondly, he said Heath was one of kind and Leto was weak. Totally agree with that. And Caesar, Jack, and Danny, I can get there. I don't know. Maybe Danny Trejo would surprise us a little bit.
There's that accent is so heavy. Like Danny Trejo's accent is so heavy. I couldn't see it.
I don't know if I don't even know if I could see him doing the laugh really. I don't know. I could see him playing a villain. Bone says they fell asleep watching the Batman. I didn't bother to finish watching it again. I gotta be honest, I really liked the Batman. I enjoyed the Batman far more than I thought I would. Although I will say, outside of Leto, there's the Joker in that film is in the running with Leto for the worst film version of him.
Oh, that was that was like that was like a college performance. That was so fucking bad. It was ridiculous.
It really was. It was really bad. If they can Brittany's, I could go on and on about how much I love that movie. We're with you on that. I'm a fan of the Batman.
Me and Brittany left the theater. It immediately, nothing's ever done this before, went right up next to Michael Keaton as like my favorite Batman and my favorite, because unfortunately with Batfleck, he probably would have been my favorite, but there just wasn't enough of a whole movie. Nice. That's awesome.
Something about Michael Keaton's eyes in that last photo is disturbing.
That's great. That's so stupid. So let me ask Bone. Bone, what was your favorite Batman movie, if you don't mind me asking? I don't think it's that personal. I don't think it's that personal.
We'll wait on Bone to respond there.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
I really like I love the vibe of the Batman. My biggest gripe was probably with the ending. I felt like I felt like the ending was weak. I felt like it was building and building and building, and I was waiting for the crescendo, that little just something. I can't put my finger on it. If I thought about it, I could write it. I know I could, but I haven't taken the time to do that. And I'm just like wondering, how would I have done that differently to make it just put that finishing, that cherry on top that would have made it really amazing, and then cut the Joker out of it completely. Because
it's so funny because the ending, because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I know, like I can understand the same feeling. I would almost have the same feeling, except for me, I'm an action scene junkie. There are channels on YouTube that just have random action scenes, and I watch them throughout my workouts. I watch them all the time. When you watch the Batman, there's no action scene that lasts longer than like maybe I think the car chase was the longest action scene, and that was not a fight scene. That was just a car chase scene. Those are naturally kind of long. When we talk about fight scenes, we have fight scenes in most movies now where they go on for a few minutes, and when you're watching people pound each other, you're like, okay, and then there's like a director's cut when there's like 4 more minutes. Now, that being said, action scenes run pretty long nowadays. The Batman, every fight scene, every action scene was actually pretty short. Like, it had to happen, done. It had to happen, done. And one of the ways I think they smartly balanced that was to show more Batman doing other things like detective work. Because usually in Batman movies, when there's action, you see Batman. When there's not, you see Bruce Wayne. This movie showed mostly Batman, even if he's just walking around or with Commissioner doing detective stuff. I thought that was really different. And so the weird thing is, this movie, the ending not being huge, for me, fit the tone of the movie. Although I understand what you're saying. I can totally see it. It just didn't do that to me.
And that's the funny part is I love the tone of the movie. Like I said, it's like eating through this really delicious meal, and you're just looking for this little bit of something at the end to put a cap on it. And I felt like that part kind of fell short. There's only really 3 gripes I have in the movie. There's a single line that was actually very quick, but there's some dialogue that I thought was really it sounded forced, and it sounded like
it was racial. It was racial against white people.
It was,
and it's almost like, I swear to God, dude, because you know how I think about these fucking things. I swear to God, like, they were not going to let him make the movie until he at least said one thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
yeah.
none of the movie had anything to do with that. He didn't play any of those games at all. To me, at all.
I agree, and that's why you
gotta say something.
Like, I'd almost respect it more if it was throughout the whole thing. I'm not saying I wanted that, but
for me,
it felt like it was just really obvious, and it was garbage, but it's forgivable. And then my other gripes being,
as she's talking to Batman, who's obviously Caucasian, and it's like, dude, relax.
Yeah, but to me that line was kind of meh, and then the Joker, and lastly the ending. Those are my major gripes with that film. Other than that, Bone says it's a boring end for a boring movie. I was entertained by it. I did not feel I felt like it wasn't as adrenaline fueled as most superhero films are nowadays, but I'm okay with that because I appreciate a well written and well told story. I loved there was that now not always, there were some shots that didn't work, but a lot of the shots in that movie were super cool.
Oh man, unbelievable.
Some of the cinematography was just breathtaking. The color palette that was used, the music, like using Nirvana something in the way like was just like, I mean, it had a vibe that nothing else has, and I just really appreciated it.
The song itself doesn't fit the Batman movie, but
it doesn't fit anything. It doesn't even. It barely makes sense.
It fits Nirvana,
right?
But the tone of the song fit perfectly. From the first trailer, and the fact that they use that as like one of the main theme songs within the movie, I was like, wow. Like, forget the lyrics, whatever he's saying, even he didn't know what he was talking about half the time. The tone of that song, like it's almost like it's hard to imagine the movie without it.
Right. I just want to touch on what your wife is saying here in the comments. She says, I thought there's a lot of introspective psychological elements to the characters in the story, and with so much going on throughout the movie, I think the ending was all right. I agree with that. Total 100%. I really like that sort of like, it was dark in a way that Batman hasn't been dark before, and it had this grittiness in a way that was very different, and I really appreciated. She also says Colin Farrell was excellent, though. Again, agree. And that Bone probably liked Suicide Squad. I'm not going to insult Bone like that. I mean,
oh no, we're not.
You have to assume Bone has some taste.
Let me explain something about my wife first and foremost. When the first thing she ever said, because she was actually we knew each other as friends before. The first time she ever saw me, I was wearing a Superman shirt, and she's a Batman girl. So she like drops me and a friend off at the theater, and she texts the friend, tell Ron Superman sucks. She had never met me before. And that's the first thing that Brittany like ever said to me. Yeah. That's my girl. She is joking. But I am wondering, Bone, what is your best? I promise I won't yell at you. It's not that kind of show. You can like whatever you like. I am wondering, like, what is your favorite Batman movie? If you're still listening, write that shit in there.
So we'll kind of, we wanted to talk about our sister project, I think.
You know what? Yes. Please go ahead and do that. So we got.
We'll wait on Bone maybe to throw us a bone and share their favorite Batman movie, but
we can go after an hour, just so everyone knows.
Okay,
now.
Cool.
Just told us, okay.
For those of you who don't know, recently we've been kind of figuring this indie comic world out as we go. We kind of jumped in feet first. We have a project. Ron's got it in his thing. We are co-creators of Sector 7, and that is a project we're very passionate about, and we are determined to make a reality because we really believe in the world we've created and we believe in the story. But recently, that campaign did expire on Fund My Comic. We were never really able to gain a lot of traction, and we're kind of in the process of working out what's next, and we've got a few ideas and things like that. So this is not Sector 7 is not dead. It is going to we're going to continue to build an audience, and we are going to make that a reality. However, not everyone is like me and is just obsessed with giant monsters. There's a lot of us, but I think the kaiju community in general is niche. There may be lots of comic fans that might be interested in a giant monster book. We deal a lot in science fiction as well, but it's probably not. It doesn't have the mainstream appeal that some other books out there have. Filmin X asks, have we run on Kickstarter or just FMC? We're actually we just talked about this, about changing Fund My Comic to an ongoing campaign that will continue, and then running a Kickstarter in the near future, because we are looking for some of that ambient traffic. And I've seen some of our peers use Kickstarter really successfully, actually.
Yeah.
So we did discuss that. However, with that said, there's another idea that I came up with on the way either to or from Geico probably 10 years ago. And I couldn't wait to share with Ron, because that's what I do and I just happened a couple of days ago. I'm like, hey, I got this idea for a character. What do you think? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of start. But we came up and have kind of talked about this concept of a character called Raven Hood, and I personally really think the concept has a lot more mainstream appeal. So this is not a replacement for Sector 7, but something we are going to be looking to make a reality alongside Sector 7, and just kind of try to get more eyes on us, try to get established, because being our first book, we are trying to get our names out there and gain some legitimacy in just about any way we can. So I've had this idea for about 10 years, and essentially Ravenhood is a modern take, a futuristic, darker, grittier take on the Robin Hood tale, with I describe it as hefty amounts of The Crow and V for Vendetta kind of thrown in there a little bit, and even maybe
like Assassin's Creed, The Crow, V for Vendetta. You mix those things together, and you think of the coolest shit, and maybe a little bit of Blade Runner too, like not flying cars, but uber future corporatism.
And I've even thrown a dash of I think Saw in there as well, some of those type of themes and concepts, and what we have, we want to talk about this a little bit because we're really excited about it. We think it's going to look super. I am absolutely like giddy waiting to see when Ron's able to come up with some concept art for Raven Hood himself. We did discover recently, and I'll just talk about this briefly, there was kind of a novel series that has since, I was actually really distraught about it, because my creations are kind of like my children in some ways. Like when I come up with an idea, I become very attached to them. So we did see that there was some another series out there with the same title, but it's a novel series, and there's no similar character or anything like that. It's got very different themes and seems to have a completely different target audience. So
let me actually tell that story. Story. So I think it's very important because it's bound to come up. And the character's name is Raven Hood. Whether or not we're going to be able to call the book that, I think we're going to be okay, even if we spell it differently or something. Here's the issue. Matt, when as I'm at work and Matt's talking to me like, let's launch Ravenhood, we got to do it. Literally like 15 minutes later, he messages me and he's all upset like, dude, there's already a famous book series called like Ravenhood, and it's in the like 2-sentence blurb that they give about the book series, they call it a modern reimagining of Robin Hood. So I'm like, oh shit, that sucks. You know what I mean? That
too.
Sucks. It happens. I've had good ideas come out before I could do them. It's just part of being a creator sometimes. No one steals anything. It just happens. But for some reason, I just wanted to know about the book series. Like how closely does it resemble Robin Hood? Is it literally just like our character? Like, how close is this? So I go to look it up. If you look up Ravenhood, it will give you like a 3-book series. Yet all 3 books, I couldn't even tell if they were called Ravenhood because they all had different titles. It was very strange. And I don't know who writes this shit anymore, but to call it a reimagining of Robin Hood, nope, not even close. It's a romance. First of all, it's a romance novel trilogy about a girl who's estranged from her dad, who's a wealthy factory owner, and it's for like young adults. It's like for like 18 to 22-year-old women. And not that women can't read our book. I'm just saying like it's a fucking romance novel. I think as close to Robin Hood as she comes is maybe stealing some money from her dad. And yet that's the description they gave in the blurb, that if you didn't look any further, you're like, oh, okay, they did something cool. That has nothing to do with Robin Hood. It has nothing to do with our world, our character, nothing at all. So I'm like, so I text Matt back. I'm like, dude, fuck this. There's no way. Like, ours is so different. And like Sector 7, like, okay, we named our book Sector 7. There's actually other things called like Sector 7. There's like Sector 7 Tire and Auto. There's Sector 7 whatever. Like, you can't always just copyright everything like you think you can. So we're going to look into that some more. But this, first of all, it's not a romance series. It's not like a young adolescent girl going to have to work at her factory to help her sick mom. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, we're fucking doing this. And Matt's like, oh, thank God. So,
yeah, because I was kind of brokenhearted. I think this concept is going to be really cool. We're going to have a lot of really neat things to show off. I've already got a lot of cool dialogue in mind, a lot of scenes in mind. And Ron is going to absolutely kill the art. In fact, I am giddy because I really am, because I've seen some of the big recent books that have come out that are just really exciting to look at, that we've talked about. Like Reaper Destroyer has a really cool art style.
Death Shroud.
Writhe in Pain looks amazing. I don't want to put too much pressure on Ron, but I firmly believe.
I no problem. That's my genre, dude. I love because all those books remind me of how fun like the late 90s Image, like, you know what I mean? A lot of things coming out of Top Cow, like Witchblade in the Darkness, like all those books were fucking amazing, dude. And it was so exciting when they came out.
And I'm just so excited because I'm sitting there going, I'm giving Ron, well, not really a superhero, but we're giving you that type of archetype, like, the action hero type. This is very different from kaiju, and it's a very different world. And I'm just so excited to see you take that. And, like I've got that kind of face. Like, I am waiting for Ron to absolutely knock this out of the park, because I think the moment that people see it, they're going to be excited.
This is gonna, and it's like you said. The problem is even though the art's great and the story's great, for Sector 7, no one knows this yet, and we're trying to put out a book that's like a niche inside of another niche, which is indie comics, inside of another niche, which is comic books itself.
Right.
It's just too many niches down, you know? And
Right.
this is more definitely like any mainstream company could have a book like Ravenhood is going to be. It is very much appealing to a wider audience.
Right. And I know that. I've known that for a long time. I may not, want to believe it deep down in my soul, but it's true. It's definitely
well. The reason why we did Sector 7 first, though, is because we didn't write it like a kaiju book.
Right. And
Sector 7 has mass appeal. It's just about a niche subject. But Sector 7 has fucking everything, dude. When that comes out,
it's weird. It's gonna happen. I have no doubt that it's gonna happen.
We're gonna release these books the way I want to release them from now on, which is my 12-page structure, like I told you about. Okay, so for a very minimal price, they're gonna be able to have a lot of the book in their hand, and that's gonna be important for Sector 7 because within the first 12 pages, they're gonna realize, hey, buildings aren't falling down everywhere. There's not monsters everywhere. This book is actually character driven. It's character focused. There's political drama in this. By the way, look at the cool designs of the future they created. And then, there's monsters. Like that's actually like tertiary for the kind of story that we created.
It is, and it's weird because it's almost like that's been. I mean, kaiju fans should be used to that because Godzilla's like that. Like, and don't get me wrong, like there's something to be said for, screen time. But if you go back and look at a lot of the classic Godzilla films that we all love, we all grew up with, from anywhere from the 50s to the 90s, really, like there's a balance there, and there's a lot of those classic ones are story driven where it's mostly about the human element. The problem is they don't always get the human element right, and they don't always make it interesting enough. Right.
And for American kaiju comics, besides a few, Paul being one of them.
Yes. Paul. And we have some other friends out there for sure.
Yeah. There's a few good kaiju books out there. Paul at Age Comics has one. To where, at least in America, like the IDW books, a lot of them, when you open, like I've said it before, when you open it up, it's just buildings falling and monsters fighting, and there's people drawn very poorly in the background because they don't fucking matter.
Right, depending on the artist, but yeah, depending on the artist, some of them look absolutely atrocious. And
I would never speak for everyone. I'm just talking about generalities.
Right, yeah, right. Generally speaking, that's the case. So, no, I just wanted to make it clear, like, we believe in Sector 7. We know it's a good product. We know that people are going to enjoy it once it's out there and available. But we're also going to be working side by side with, Ravenhood in order to try and get established and try to get a bit more eyes on us and appeal to a wider audience. So expect that down the pipeline here shortly. We wanted to kind of talk about it, and Philman X asked about us on Kickstarter. I kind of addressed that a little bit earlier.
You already answered that, but thanks, Philmax.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, we did Indiegogo first, and then we did Fund My Comic, and now we're going to do, like Matt said earlier, addressing the question, we're going to do Fund My Comic along with wherever else we put it. Or I'm sorry, Kickstarter along with. So we're gonna go a couple different venues this time.
It's all good, Pops.
And again, like Pops was telling us, I didn't know. Like, okay, if you go to Indiegogo, that's mostly Twitter people. If you go to Kickstarter, that's mostly Facebook people. We don't know these things because we literally just came on the scene in like fucking March. So we're, like Matt said, we jumped in head first into the deep end, and we're still having fun, and we're not going anywhere. So you're gonna have it for a long time.
Yeah, we're still out. We're still doing our thing. And, I'm going to be promoting the kaiju side of things still. Thank you, Batman, for the wry smile.
That's a great Batman. I love that Batman pick.
That's a great Batman image. I'm going to be doing some gaming related stuff and kaiju related stuff on my side of StreamYard things. We're still going to be doing this show together, which hopefully you all have enjoyed. We thank you for the folks out there who have joined us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else we want to touch on? Bone never told us his favorites. So
never told us his favorites. I have a feeling now it may be Batman and Robin. I don't know.
I was gonna say that I might have went
calling you out. I love you. Thank you for showing up.
We love you, Bone. Thank you for coming. I was gonna joke and say it was the Adam West Batman film and go with that one, but yes. Bat shark repellent. My favorite part of that, bat shark repellent.
I gotta tell you, I swear to God, I have season 1 on DVD.
Now hold on, guys. That is where it all began. You must give respect to the West.
That dude, yeah. It was. I'm telling you, that's one of those things. So okay, you just mentioned some things are bad in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Perfect.
And I love Adam West's Batman.
It makes me smile every fucking time.
Absolutely. The camp, the cheesiness was great. It was done.
I don't know how they did it, but it worked.
It was done so sincerely. I think this is a topic we could actually cover in another show. What makes a bad movie good and instead of just bad? We could talk about that.
You know what? How about, I tell you what, Pops, if you want to write that down for next week's show already, say it again, Matt.
What makes a bad movie good, rather than just a bad movie?
When is camp good? And so something like that.
It's funny you bring that up because I have this thing about remakes. They should leave good movies alone and only remake crappy movies. Make them better.
Yeah.
That could be a whole secondary topic for us for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would venture to say they actually did that with Ant-Man, at least the first one. I would venture to say, because I had no interest. No one had an interest in Ant-Man, but back when Marvel was good, I thought Paul Rudd did a really good job as
you see, but I think that has to do with casting. I think he was the right guy.
Sure.
To be that wry felon that turned into a superhero, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like that's a hard sell.
Yeah,
that's a hard.
I agree, Brittany. Some movies are made poorly on purpose, and I think I'm going to save my point on that exact thing for next week. Philman says Kickstarter has the most audience eyes to find you without directly driving them there. I agree, and the other part of that on Kickstarter, especially for Sector 7, is if I can appeal to the kaiju community. Who may not necessarily be into comics and indie comics on a regular basis. If I'm asking them to invest in us, I got to go to where they're probably already registered. Because to get them to go to Fund My Comic and trust them, I'm not saying Fund My Comic has done us wrong in any way.
No, not at all. It's just new.
I think it would be easier for the kaiju community to come support us in that way on Kickstarter. So, with that said, we are.
Like you're going to put your stuff out there everywhere you can, and it's like some places, some people that are not known are just going to have a hard time finding that foothold, no matter where they're going. Okay, until people know who you are and see your work. Which, look, I love your work, Ron. I haven't read your work yet, Matt. But I love your work, Ron, and I can say that I can go out and promote this with confidence and say that Ron's art is badass. Okay, I can go out and do that all day long, But until somebody's read your story and wants to come back for the next one, this is a beginning. That's what it is. It's a beginning. You got to start somewhere. But once you have that cliffhanger there that we're waiting on the next one. That's where you find out how good your book was, because everybody who read it's coming back for the next one and having told their friends. And there's even more people trying to get the next one than the last one. That's when your story is connecting with your audience. The art sells itself. There's no doubt. Okay. The art should be selling this book all by itself. Okay. But when you get to book 2, I can talk about somebody's first book till I'm blue in the face, sell the hell out of it. But I can't sell book 2. Book 1 has to sell book 2.
Yeah.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I can't sell book 2. Once book 1's out there, either it's good or it's not. I can't, it's like I can't do anything after that. It's totally up to the readers. Right now, I can sell it on the art. And the art is amazing. Anybody who hasn't looked at this campaign needs to go look at this campaign. If you love
it's dead now.
Ron's killing it.
You can't, we can't. Well, it's still up though. You can still view it.
It's still up. Yeah.
But like I said, the art should sell itself. It just needs to get seen. That's what we're trying to do, is make sure you guys get seen.
Absolutely, and hopefully, the people that seen us tonight like us enough to come back and visit.
Bones, I expect an answer next Monday.
I know.
I expect a full essay on your favorite fucking Batman.
Exactly. We're gonna invite Bones on just to harass him about which movie
Uncle Mike's waiting too. Uncle Mike's waiting too. Waiting in silence as always.
Ah. Yeah. So. No.
Yeah. So I think we're good, guys. I think we're good. You want to have Brittany roll us out? Yeah.
It was awesome.
All right. Thanks,
have a great
everybody.
night, guys.
Thanks for showing up.
Peace out, everybody.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Madness Entertainment Group presents the Madness Comic Network with original programming and additional comic-related content.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.